Hello, friend. How are you doing? Uh, I can't say I'm doing super great. It's kind of ironic. Sahadun or something like that is the city, town I'm in right now, which is the halfway point. I've made it to the halfway point of the 500 miles from the French border of Saint Jean Pied de Port to Santiago. And yesterday was a little rough. And today, I woke up for the very first time. I was thinking about, I'm just kind of done. Now, I'm not, but you wake up and you're just like, I just not feeling it today, right? Yesterday I got sick from something and ended up on the side of the trail spitting up my lunch. So that was an unpleasant experience, and the rain, and just sometimes you're just tired. You know what I mean? So if you're feeling like that, or if you've ever felt like that, or if you think you may feel like that in the future, this one is for you. You've probably heard this verse passage, but how much of an encouragement is it? Isaiah 40, starting in verse 29. Speaking of God, He never becomes faint or weary. There is no limit to His understanding. He gives strength to the faint and strengthens the powerless. Youths may become faint and weary. The young men stumble and fall. I have those guys going past me every day. They are full of energy. So even when it's difficult enough that they are stumbling, they are becoming faint and weary. But those who trust in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not become weary. They will walk and not faint. Now, I'm just out on a walk, right? I mean, if I go home a little bit early, or just sit in a hostel or something like that until my flight, no biggie. It really isn't the end of the world. But a lot of you guys are walking through some trials, some crises where people are depending on you, and quitting really isn't an option. And yet you feel like fainting. You feel like falling, stumbling. You don't have anything left. And this is where we need to trust the Lord. Trust the Lord to give us what we need for today. Not for this week, not for this month, but for today. And what is the promise here? That if we trust in the Lord. Now, this isn't saying, if you trust God to deliver whatever you want, then you can go ahead and do whatever you want. That's not what we're talking about here, right? What we're talking about is when we're in the will of God, when we're doing what God has called us to do, has given us a purpose to do. He will give us the strength. He will give us the endurance to do what He has called us to do. So that's what we're talking about here. And when we need it, He will carry us through it. There's a lot of difficult circumstances where we don't really have much of a choice in the matter. Whether it's difficult times with loved ones that we are trying to serve them as they are having medical conditions, or whether we are trying to provide for our families. When there are genuine needs around you and you're trying to serve, or even difficult times in churches or difficult times in relationships, it's easy to quit. And yet, when you think about it, when you pray about it, you know that you can't quit. You can't quit on that person. And sometimes you can't quit on yourself. And so what do? It's like, I can't keep going, but I can't quit either. And when you're in that type of situation, that's when this verse hits home. He gives strength to the faint and strengthens the powerless. Youths, the strong and the mighty, become faint and weary. Even the young men are stumbling and falling. But those who trust in the Lord will renew their strength. Renew it. Every day, you'll get a little bit more, just enough for today. They will soar on wings like eagles. You will be untouched. You'll be untouched in your spirit by things that would crush you. He will help you to, as the martyrs of old and the martyrs today, to sing in the fire. How can you do that? Because of the amazing power and strength that God will give you. They will run and not become weary. How is that possible? You ever seen people like that? Where they're just so full of the fire of God that they do things that you just like, how can they do that? How is that possible? It's possible because they trust in the Lord. And they will walk and not faint. So if you're walking through this dark season now, or if you ever will, trusting in the Lord to renew your strength each and every day, to shield you from the trials and difficulties so that you can soar over them like an eagle. I mean, you've ever seen an eagle fly? Of course you have, right? As you see these birds soaring, they don't care whether there's cliffs beneath them. They don't care if it's flat and smooth. It doesn't affect them. If you're walking, it affects you. It affects you if you come up to a wall and you're like, I have to climb straight up this mountain. But an eagle just soars over top of it. Any trial, difficulty, they are completely unimpacted by it. And that's the promise that God gives to us. That if we trust Him, if we follow Him, we will be like a shield around us, unimpacted by the things that are happening. It doesn't mean that we'll be unaware of them, but it does mean that He will allow us to remain unaffected by them. And that is an amazing experience. Have you ever been there where you trusted the Lord and maybe somebody said something and normally that would send you off a cliff. But that time it just didn't. It was like a shield blocked it. And you're just kind of like, okay. And you soared above the trial, the difficulty. And you look back at that and you say, that was God. That was God that did that. That somehow God allowed me to just be impervious to that. And we need that, right? Sometimes the people that are saying those things don't mean it. But it doesn't mean that we aren't usually affected by it, right? We need that. We need that shield. We need that strength, that endurance. And we can find that in God. So I'm going to continue walking today, even though it's supposed to rain a little bit more today. But you just keep going, right? Keep going. You walk through the rain. And fortunately, I get to end my days with a hot shower. So I can always tell myself, I just endure this for a while and then get to a hot shower. It's unlike other trails where after a day of being soaking wet, you then have to set up your tent in the rain, and then you have to crawl into your tent and then get into a wet sleeping bag. And that's certainly no fun. That's certainly no fun. But Even, the hostels and all the places along the way, they have hot showers. You oftentimes have to share them with other people, but, luckily you use them one at a time, so it's all good, right? Anyway, well, I hope you guys have a blessed day. And if you're really struggling, I hope that you found some encouragement here today. And if you're doing okay, I hope that you're filing this away, the secret of God, for a rainy day someday. All right, until we see you guys again, God bless you all. I'll see you later.